Throughout Flowey's existence, he's either been very overwhelming or underwhelming to fight against. He's also received many nerfs and buffs after he was released, but he's also not like the rest of the cast, which makes him hard to be balanced or have a fitting design. So here's my personal opinion about if Flowey fits ucdr. Short answer, he can, but his kit is done horribly right now. While he's meant to be a more stationary and defender character, he doesn't really have the tools or moves needed to actually do this. Instead, right now he just has super armor for a lot of the moves he has. Also worth mentioning, certain moves had to be adjusted so Flowey could stand a chance. Flowey right now is a pretty mixed bag for most players in terms of strength. Some people say he's not that bad, while others say he's extremely strong. So I'll try not to focus too much if Flowey's overpowered or not. I more so just want to give feedback about Flowey's design choices. There's a bunch of stuff to talk about if you want a long-term answer, such as Flowey's mechanics, kit, Parasite mode, and future stages, which I will try my best to address. By the way, I want to say that I don't have a proper solution on how to fix Flowey. More so, I just want to address them and provide feedback on how he can be improved. There's a ton of people who've written their own suggestions about Flowey. I'm going to quickly go over Flowey mechanically so you can understand where I'm coming from. Flowey is basically the best example of an evolution character ucdr has had so far, having 3 stages in total, that being stage 0, 1, and 2, with more upcoming stages in the works. They also will be receiving separate evolution paths, which as of right now are Flowey's Hive Mind mode, and the other most likely being the evolution to Omega Flowey. Flowey has 4 passives to him, which is Tiny Little Flower, Rejuvenating Borrow, Save State, and Soul Consumption. Tiny Little Flower makes it so that Flowey can no longer walk, jump, or dash. Instead, he gets the ability to borrow and travel underground with R. Or alternatively, you can use LMB to immediately reappear further away. In addition, he can now weave. By pressing S or D, his hitbox will be adjusted to left or right, depending on what keybind you press. Flowey can still use aerials, however he must now press space or W alongside the move you want to use. Rejuvenating Borrow makes it so that any stamina drained from his Borrow will be converted to mana. Save State is a conditional passive which allows for Flowey to respawn with most of his progress. This conditional is activated when Flowey has at least 1 single human soul. Whenever Flowey dies and has more than 1 human soul, he will respawn with 1 less human soul. If Flowey has no human souls left upon death, he will not be respawned and be sent back to the menu instead. Soul Consumption gives Flowey the ability to take souls by clicking on them. Every time you click on a soul, a cutscene will play. More importantly, you essentially level up his kit every time you click on a soul that's dropped after somebody dies. Human souls are about worth double the amount of a monster soul for progression. His size will also increase with every soul consumed. Usually a soul will unlock a move. After 4 souls are consumed, Flowey will transition into stage 1. He will get a new custom model alongside a new passive, which is Cumbersome Growth. The cutscene that plays will be shortened. Cumbersome Growth makes Flowey's Borrow slower and take more stamina. Flowey in this stage is pretty bad, but unless you're really good at Flowey, you can sorta make some use out of it. But even then, you're still probably going to lose. After Flowey consumes 8 souls, he will transform into stage 2, giving him a brand new custom model. Flowey receives 1 notable passive, which is Unfair, which essentially allows him to block undodgeable moves. Take for example, Dismantle. After Flowey consumes 12 human souls, Flowey will receive his full kit, which I'm going to talk about right now. When Flowey is fully maxed out, he has about 100 total health, which is the largest health pool in the game. Flowey's borrowing speed is slightly faster than the other character's running speed, however he consumes his full stamina in about 4 seconds. Flowey as of right now has 13 moves in the game if you include the Parasite keybind. He's equipped with 6 melee moves, which are Air 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and Borrow. He has 2 projectile moves, that being 1 and Air 1. He's equipped with both melee and projectile counters. The rest of his moves are considered magic attacks, which are Air 2 and 9. Flowey has 2 ultimates, which being 7 and 9. Flowey 7 deals about 15 damage while costing 2 heat to use and uses a large amount of your mana. Flowey will be granted level 3 super armor, and this attack can break level 2 super armor. Flowey 9 requires 1 heat to cast, doing a whopping 90 damage, although this has about double the windup in Special Hal, alongside half the range of Special Hal. This move becomes 1.5 seconds faster if you have 3 heat. After 2 seconds of this attack activating, it will grant Flowey level 3 super armor. In addition, this move will break block and up to level 2 super armor. More about their base moveset though. Flowey 4 is a melee attack, dealing about 3 damage if it hits the opponent. This hits knockdown opponents and breaks level 2 super armor. In addition, Flowey will also receive level 1 super armor. This move has a cooldown of 5 seconds, however if you whip it, it only lasts 2 seconds. Flowey 6 is a melee attack. It has a cooldown of 3 seconds, 6 if you hit it. This also hits down knocked opponents. It also breaks level 1 super armor. Flowey 5, 6, 7, 4, 9, Air 2, and Borrow will break at minimum level 1 super armor, with Flowey 4, 5, 6, 7, Air 2, and 9 always granting at least level 1 super armor. Flowey's projectile counter has a cooldown of 15 seconds, with Flowey's melee counter having a cooldown of 10 seconds if you land the counter, but 55 seconds if you whip it. A lot of their kit has some sort of super armor infliction on their attacks, which means that fighting Flowey can be really difficult, especially if your super armor breakers are predictable moves. While Flowey is meant to be a stationary defender, like I said earlier, he doesn't actually have any moves in his kit aside from his counters that can classify him as a defender. The only reason why he even functions slightly right now as a stationary defender is because of the super armor given to pretty much all of his moves that have short cooldowns. Overall, Flowey relies way too much on his super armor right now, since he lacks the proper tools needed to defend his stationary position. Without this super armor, Flowey is one of the weakest characters in the game. Regarding short cooldowns, a big upcoming issue is the idea of having shorter cooldowns if you whip them. Flowey already has short cooldown in his main moves, which is fine because they have the least amount of moves in the cast, but Flowey 4 and 6 all have cooldowns that are 6 seconds or lower. I don't think they need to have a 2 to 3 second cooldown. A lot of their attacks can attack knockdown characters, making it so that Flowey has a lot of combos, but they're actually not too bad considering the damage scaling update done to Flowey. I want to say I'm more so talking about how Flowey fails to play a stationary defender, as he literally requires super armor to even function. Fighting against a character who relies on a mechanic that makes it so you can't stun them most of the time is really annoying, as a lot of characters rely on stunning to actually make a good amount of damage. It's not really fun for either side. I've already mentioned this before, but if you want a direction for fixing Flowey, replace his super armor with actual defensive moves. There's a ton of stuff you can do with Flowey. If you want my personal suggestion, you can make plants or barriers around himself to force the player to readjust their position to be able to rush down. I'll skim through this mode since we're already at the 7-minute mark. Flowey's sub-Parasite mode basically is a co-op mode where you can assist someone in fighting. By pressing X and hitting someone with the attack, you will attach them. While you're attached, you will receive a meter labeled Parasite, which fills up over time by just being attached to a host. This grants Flowey more moves to use. Unlike Sukuna, using moves will not drain the percentage. Flowey can be detached from the host if the host gets their block broken. Flowey's first move can be used at any time, which fires a single pellet at the opponent. This will break the opponent's block. Once you reach around 80% Parasite meter, you get around 3 pellets. Their second move is a basic Vine Stab. You can use this after getting to 15% on your Parasite meter. However, the higher your percentage is, the bigger the visual effects and hitbox will be. Their final move is a utility. This makes it so that Flowey will no longer get kicked off the host's body if they're dazed or block broken. However, you will not gain Parasite meter in this phase. They also have a roll which will move the vessel in the direction they're currently walking in. It requires 30% Parasite meter to use. However, if you have over 60%, it will reduce the cooldown by 20 seconds. This move will deal damage to the host if they're in end lag. By pressing 9, you can activate your true form, which gives you control over your host's body. Upon taking over your host, you will gain an entire new moveset. There's a timer for how long you can use this, however it is extended by the amount of souls you have. You have about half the health of your original host maximum. Your anti-team will also be disabled. You will also take damage in true form passively no matter if you're in combat or not. This gives Flowey access to 2 moves, which the first makes it so that you fire a vine from your arm towards the enemy, with the second having you jump into the air before slamming the ground with vines. Pressing 9 will deactivate your true form. Right now, Parasite mode is actually in a pretty good spot. They'll probably get more moves, but right now I think they're doing their archetype well. You're always progressing most of the time and are not dependent on random people to be fighting. You're pretty much always progressing if you have a host. It also makes the grind slightly less tedious to get to stage 2 and provides something to do while you work towards that goal. Regarding Flowey's upcoming stages, the main problem will be the balancing. Flowey right now is sort of like a mini-boss, but when we eventually reach Flowey's stronger stages, I don't think it'll be that fun to go against if Flowey's super armor trend continues. Considering how Omega Flowey doesn't have a stem in the original game, we can assume that Flowey gets a bit more stationary around stage 4, which if things continue at the rate they're going at, Flowey will most likely have passive super armor, rendering a lot of the character's combos useless. The problem with Flowey is that they're already fairly strong in stage 2, so he's going to be near impossible to beat if Flowey ever gets to his final form. Nothing's out there yet, so there's not much to judge, but it could become a huge problem trying to keep it fun while also making Flowey a challenge. Flowey Hive Mind mode seems like it could be fairly fun to go against, if you could damage the Hive Mind's plants and vines. There seems to be a lot of hearts with Hive Mind mode you can find, so maybe we'll have to destroy those before we can fight Flowey. Not much to say due to the lack of information we have on Hive mode, aside from seeing it once during testing. As a character, Flowey does sort of fit. That being said, he needs some form of redesign regarding what future moves will do. He has a lot of mechanics that can make progressing fun, although his current kit is really just lackluster due to him entirely depending on super armor, which can make him really boring to fight against mechanically. However, while he does sort of fit right now, that doesn't mean he's fun to go up against in his current state right now, for both sides. Flowey's combos are extremely boring. Paired with his short cooldowns and super armor in every move, he's really annoying to fight against. There's also the fact where he's punished less for whiffing certain moves. On Flowey's side, you're basically just pressing buttons and the game plays itself due to the auto-tracking. That being said, Flowey could very easily get out of hand if his future stages are done incorrectly. Since having a character just being so overpowered, you have little to no chance to beat it isn't exactly that fun. Balancing is an extremely necessary thing here that's required. Depending on how the balancing is handled with future stages will definitely sway my answer on this. Though as it stands right now, yes, he sort of does fit. But as I've said, he's been handled poorly so far. Please give me pacifist perms if you're the owner. Please, 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 please. Also consider subscribing, please. Comment and like so it feeds the algorithm.